I remember at the end of the last podcast, we basically wrapped up the podcast. And then I was like, oh, what have you done this week? And you were like, oh, I was doing some stunt driving. I was like, what? I did not know that you did some stunt driving. And I was like, well, this has definitely got to come up in the next podcast because I wanted to know all about it. And I'm sure the listeners will want to know a bit about it. So yeah, like stunt driving and working on films and precision driving, I guess all comes under one sort of banner, I guess.
Yeah, it's a mix of, it can be an advert for an example, let's say where I've done something with Braun shavers and they're trying to compare how quickly you can change a shaver head to a pit stop, and all of a sudden they're hiring a driver to do a Formula 3 car like burnout, and anything from that to a film like a Mission Impossible or a Transformers or something like that. And it is fun, and it sounds maybe a little bit more glamorous than it is. 90% of the time you're doing something quite mundane. But obviously the one-off fun days where you are kind of J-turning down a set of stairs and crashing into the side of a wall, then it's kind of exciting. But the thing I never realized when I got into the stunt driving stuff was, and ignorantly so, is when you watch, you assume let's say two cars in a chase are the two stunt drivers, but then you realize, hang on a minute, every single car in that scene has got to be a stunt driver. So sometimes you can just be driving a black cab at 20 mile an hour on the side of the road.
Yeah, that was something when we talked about it. It was like I hadn't thought about that at all in the slightest, that you look at all of these scenes, whether it's your James Bond movie or whatever, and you might have your sort of three main cars battling it out through the streets, but then is literally every other car got someone like yourself in?
Yeah, I say there's a key, for instance, for the mission films, we have, let's say, like a key group of on the really focused scenes of maybe 6, and then on the bigger scenes maybe 20. But then there is, let's say, when we've done a London Bridge scene or something, there might be 50 drivers, some of which won't necessarily be stunt drivers, but they'll just be drivers who are insured to drive on set and do the scene. But for all intents and purposes, any car that comes near what we call the hero car, let's say Tom Cruise's car, and he's doing the driving, they have to be a precision driver in case he gets one of his turns wrong and he's about to crash into an expensive car. They've got to suddenly move out the way and know when to cut. So it's... it is really interesting, and it's amazing how many actual people you need and the time and effort that goes into it because of that.
It must be mad working on and part of a film like a Mission Impossible film, because how many people are involved in something like that? Like it's got to be like hundreds or something.
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, and we just get kind of dropped in for the specific stunts that involve cars, because obviously, yes, a lot of these action movies have car involvement, so maybe James Bond is a little bit more focused, and always has been with its heritage. But Mission Impossible, really, when you look back at it, there's the odd car chase scene, but really it's not about cars, that film. It's more about missions. So it'll be planes and bikes sometimes. And all this. There might only be a few car scenes. So we're dropped into a storyline generally we're not told about because we can't know too much.
Right.
In a scene where you only get told what's happening in that scene. And for instance, I think Mission Impossible 6, the last one, we did a scene that was maybe 200 people, including actors and stunt personnel, which included 2 helicopters in the sky, closing down London Bridge at 4 p.m. on a Thursday.
Wow.
Which I still to this date don't understand why it had to be at such a peak time, why it can't be like, I don't know, 3 a.m. on a Sunday morning where they can't incorporate it in. And that scene cost a lot of money, and we had to do it 3 times. It never even went in the film.
Oh, wow.
So it just goes to show the amount of effort they put into every second that you see of a film like that.